Welcome back to Just Effects, y'all. My name is Jimmy, and wow, oh wow, it finally happened. James Harden has finally been traded from the Houston Rockets after a clown show down in Houston for the past month or so, month and a half, 2 months or whatever. He's finally going on to the Brooklyn Nets. Quick rundown: Nets get Harden, Rockets get Oladipo, Rod Kurux, and 4 pick swaps. The Cavs get Jared Allen, Taurean Prince, and Karis LeVert. Sorry, the Pacers actually got Karis LeVert in the deal. That relationship was damaged just so much. It couldn't be fixed at all. It couldn't be repaired. So, I mean, the next day, traded him. Okay. This is huge. I'm going to talk about this from the Brooklyn Nets perspective. Okay. If everything goes well for the Brooklyn Nets, there's no excuse they shouldn't make the finals. Anything less than the finals for the Brooklyn Nets would be an absolute failure, in my opinion. If everything goes well, Kyrie Irving, with all what he got going on right now, with his, him sitting out for undisclosed reasons, and him showing up at, his sister's birthday party maskless, and all this other stuff, not returning Steve Nash and the Nets phone calls or whatever the case may be. If Kyrie buys in and is all focused and 100%, and Steve Nash gets Kyrie to be the third option somehow, because let's face it, Kyrie's going to be the third option whether he likes it or not. James Harden is better than Kyrie, and KD is obviously better than Kyrie. Kyrie's going to be the third guy. Now, there's a lot of questions here. Does Kyrie want to be the third guy? He barely wanted to be the second guy next to the best player in the game in LeBron James. What makes you want to think he wants to be not the first guy, not the second guy, but the third guy on a team? He hasn't shown me anything that makes me think that he will be able to, embrace that role as the third guy. He couldn't embrace the second guy, and they won a title, and he still wasn't happy. So the big question is Kyrie. Either way, the Nets have no excuse not making it to the finals, because obviously now the Nets are really, really depleted, right? You got Karis LeVert gone, traded. Jared Allen is in the trade. Who else was in the trade? Taurean Prince was in the trade. I'll get to the role players in a second. Dinwiddie's out with the ACL injury for the entire season. What does the team consist of? Besides KD, Harden, and Kyrie, Joe Harris, DeAndre Jordan, Luau Cabarro. Who else am I missing? Landry Shamet. That's it. Those are the other guy. Jeff Green is the other guy I forgot to mention. That's literally their role players. That's a problem because, for one, I know I just said the Nets have no excuse not making it to the finals, but it's going to be tough to win the finals if you don't have requisite role players that you can rely on to do certain things, to do their certain jobs, respectively, on a daily basis, know what their roles are, and can play exceptionally in that role. That's why I was kind of surprised that the Nets didn't get PJ Tucker in that deal, or at least keep Taurean Prince, because either one of those two guys would have been really good role players for the Nets, defensively. Defense, speaking of that, it's another problem with the Brooklyn Nets. Not that Karis LeVert was a all great defender or anything. I'm talking about Jared Allen, really. He was a really nice rim protector for them. He's one of the better rim protectors in the league, and now he's gone. DeAndre Jordan, yes, he's good. He's stronger. He's maybe not more athletic at this point, but he knows the game more. He has more experience. He probably fits better with KD and Kyrie and these guys, right? I'd probably rather have Jared Allen at this point, honestly, because DeAndre Jordan's just not as effective as he used to be with Chris Paul and the Clippers. So I'll also give a hot take on this. If I'm the Brooklyn Nets right now, if I'm Sean Marks and those guys right now, I would rather have three more really, really solid role players that know their role, that embrace their role, and they play their role very well, rather than a guy like a Kyrie Irving who might not even show up to practice for a week or two for no reason, without letting you know. Which guy would you rather have? Let me know. Would you rather have Kyrie, a guy that obviously is a great player, but there's question marks surrounding him? One, will he even be there? That's a huge question mark. And two, if he is there, will that chemistry work? Will Kyrie be willing to be the third guy on a championship level team? Because let's face it, if Kyrie embraces his role as the third guy and his points drop to, it's not going to drop too much, but I'll say Kyrie he probably averages 25 right now. Let's say he goes to 21 points per game with way less, usage rate because James Harden will have a bulk of that, right? Yeah, you can play Harden on the ball and then play Kyrie off the ball and KD off the ball. KD is willing to play off the ball. I know KD's willing to play with James Harden. Will Kyrie be able to play with James Harden? And vice versa. Will James Harden elect to, give Kyrie the ball at times? These are things you got to figure out. A reason why the Miami Heat were so successful back in 2011, 12, 13, 14. Why the big three of the Miami Heat, LeBron, D-Wade, and Chris Bosh, were so successful, even though they had a limited bench and not so great role players. Yes, they had Shane Battier and Mike Miller and, Mario Chalmers hit some big shots for them. But that team was not that deep. And they still won 2 titles, right? One, that's because, they had a great coach in Eric Spoelstra. 2, they had great players that embraced their role. They had great players that wanted to see each other succeed. They had great players that were willing to do anything for the team to win. D-Wade gave the team up to LeBron. He realized that in order for that team, after they lost to Dallas in 2011 finals, D-Wade went to LeBron and said, hey man, this is your team. You have to take over. You are the best player here. You have the best skill set here in order for us to give us a chance to win the championship. And they won back-to-back titles after that. He gave the keys of the franchise to LeBron. Now, that's the biggest question I have with the Brooklyn Nets. I don't think Kyrie, or Harden for that matter, I think Kevin Durant will be willing to sacrifice. But Kyrie and Harden, they will not be able to sacrifice for each other in order to win a championship. I just don't see it. Unless Kyrie changes his mind and, is a totally different player. That being said, I think the Nets would be better off trading Kyrie Irving to another team. I don't even know what team at this point. You can get a really, really solid third guy like you did before with Karis LeVert. Karis LeVert was the third guy. And, or Dinwiddie, whichever one you want to, label as the third guy. Dinwiddie was out, so we're going to say Karis LeVert. I think LeVert is better, so we're going to go with him. You can get a third guy like Karis LeVert in the package, trading Kyrie Irving. Plus, you can get 2 more other role players. People don't understand that, yes, you can have all the stars in the world, but if you do not have those role players, you will not win a championship. Look at the Lakers last season, for example. They have guys that are willing to embrace their role and willing to do anything for the team in order to win. Dwight Howard. In the Portland series, he barely played. In the Rockets series, he was the big factor. He was the X factor, right? He was the X factor in the Denver series, guarding Jokic. In the NBA Finals, he didn't play as much. Did he complain? No. Would he have liked more minutes? Of course he would have. But he took that role. JaVale McGee, it was fine with him to sit in order for Dwight Howard to play. Because he's like a stronger, bigger guy, right? No complaints there. They did their job. KCP and Danny Green, they did their job. Alex Caruso did his job. And they won the title. You have to have these role players in order to win the title. Do the Nets have that right now? No, they do not. I don't think they would win the title right now. I don't know if they get out the Eastern Conference right now. There's a lot of questions to be answered. But they have time. Good thing this happened, 8, 9, 10 games into the season. So they can see the status with Kyrie Irving. Will he come back and play? If he's not going to come back and play, okay, we're going to try and trade you. I mean, good luck with that. I don't know many teams that would want Kyrie and his off-the-court problems right now, but you can try a trade. I would try a trade. But if Kyrie wants to come in and be the third guy and, willing to accept a lesser role to a certain degree, then yes, the Brooklyn Nets will win the championship. Because they are just too talented offensively. Defensively, it won't even matter if those 3 guys are clicking. That's my thoughts on the James Harden to Brooklyn deal. There's no excuse for the Brooklyn Nets not to at least make the NBA Finals next season, in my book. Whether you keep Kyrie Irving and you make that thing work out, or you trade Kyrie for a third guy that knows he's the third guy and will play like he's the third guy, and two other really, really good role players, exceptional role players. Maybe like 3D guy, or maybe a 3D guy and another big man to back up DeAndre Jordan, because, at this point they have no other big man. Maybe get a stretch 5, or, I'd go out and get at least one more 3D guy, because this team needs defensive help. Steve Nash is a huge key in this as well. Like I mentioned with the Miami Heat Big Three, Eric Spoelstra managed those egos, and the Big Three itself managed egos within each other, right? And for first-time head coach Steve Nash, I know Mike D'Antoni will help and whatnot, but it's going to come down to Steve Nash ultimately. What does he want to do? How does he want to run the offense? Who gets the last shot? Who are we running plays for the most? Who's setting off-ball screens? Who's going to be running baseline to baseline, trying to get open besides Joe Harris, right? A lot of questions for Steve Nash to figure out. There's a lot on his plate as well. He's a big key in this. Will he fold under the pressure, or will he rise to the top? We'll see about that. But with that being said, man, this was a crazy trade. I might need to talk about the other parts of the deal. Let me know what y'all think about this trade, man. And with that being said, this is Jimmy from Just the Facts, and I'm signing out. Peace.